This week on Media Delta, RoboCop. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Media Delta. We're talking about a pretty, seminal classic of the 90s or the 80s today. Talking about a movie that is somehow both not talked about enough, but also still pretty popular, I guess. It is a movie that a lot of people, know of. It's a movie that is very interesting, so to speak. There is a lot about this movie, and we're talking about RoboCop today. 1987, Paul Verhoeven. It is. I don't even know what genre to call. I mean, it's technically an action movie, although it's a lot more than an act. I feel like calling it an action movie is kind of, you're not kind of like, there is definitely action, but I feel like calling it strictly an action movie kind of robs it a little bit of.
On its most basic level, it is an action movie.
Yeah, because there's layers to this movie that are interesting. But yes, I was not the only one who watched this, so please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Max, and I'm here to watch RoboCop shoot that guy in the dick.
Hi, I'm Torpotypus, and I'm also here to watch RoboCop shoot that guy in the dick.
Yeah, remember when RoboCop shot that dude in the dick? It's
a good moment.
It's a commentary on police brutality, but it's also funny.
It is. That's why. That's kind of the thing about this movie. Now we'll probably get into it once we kind of go through our our impressions. But this movie is like I said, it's an interesting movie because it makes you feel like you can't go into this like something like a Die Hard or Commando. Like that's kind of the thing with an action movie, because it's like this is a movie that sits with you a little bit, because it's like, oh wow, stuff like happens that's kind of like sticks with you a little bit.
Okay, so to be fair, like things like Die Hard. Die Hard is a straight up action movie. This is actually more of a commentary than anything.
It
is also an action movie.
It is. That's kind of the thing about it, is that it's not just an action movie. It's kind of the thing that I always describe it as is there's that meme about Gundam that is basically like, it's the crudely drawn Gundam with the guy looking at it. It's like, oh wow, cool robot, and then shooting over his head is like war is hell, like shoulders, like a bunch of actual political messaging above it that just completely missed because, oh hey, cool robot. This is one of those movies that it's a commentary, but also like weird. But yeah, I kind of think before we have to get into any more deeper conversation, I think we should probably just go around and just kind of talk about what we thought of the movie as a whole. So Axe, what did you think about this movie?
So I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it the first time I saw it, and I enjoyed rewatching it with a group of people. And I gotta be honest, like this is the kind of movie that I feel is best watched with multiple people. Like it's good on its own, but it's even better when you have like a bunch of people watching it together, especially if they're like people who've never seen it before, because it's just the people's reactions to the different scenes and set pieces really kind of makes it more of an experience, because RoboCop is really at its core an experience, um, with a lot of with a lot of not so subtle commentary about police brutality and just kind of the general state of corporations running police organizations. Um,
Actually, real quick, it's not just that; it's also a ripping into consumerism as well.
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, like it's a multi-layered film, and that's what makes it so like tricky to classify it, because at its heart, it is an action movie. It's got tons of gunfights and explosions, and you've got your good guys in the big shootout with the bad guys kind of thing going on. But it also paces itself pretty well, where there's lots of downtime for the characters to kind of develop on screen. So it's not like a strictly. I would kind of actually put it alongside Die Hard, but Die Hard really didn't have a lot of commentary so much as it was an action film, whereas RoboCop has something it's trying to say. Um, and it does a very good job of at times subverting the expectation of the viewer. Like, for example, the scene with the guy getting shot in the dick. That at
Yeah.
first blush, he shot a civilian, and you kind of would expect that from a rogue police officer, especially one that's a robotic police officer. However, that's quickly revealed that he in fact shot between her legs to shoot the guy in the dick. So it's little moments like that that kind of stand out in this movie, and sort of like you expect one thing to be happening, and then it does something completely different. Um, there's some questionable special effects, particularly the Ed 209s,
Yeah.
which look really not that great now that you kind of look back on it.
It's kind of the thing that it like if we're talking about pure technical, like if you're talking about the concept of filmmaking, of trying to think that there is that robot that's walking around, like looking in actual life, it doesn't look good. However, if we're talking about, like, does it make this film worse? I feel like it actually makes it better. Because it looks goofy and I love it.
It looks goofy. It moves awkwardly because it is stop motion, but it also lends to the entire idea that it is a flawed concept that they are going to sell regardless.
Yeah, and that point is also a big point of the movie, because that's the reason why RoboCop even comes about, is because it's shown that they are unreliable and dangerous, and the corporation looks for an alternative to that. Hence the RoboCop. I forget what they called the actual initiative, but
I think it was just called the
They just called
RoboCop.
it the RoboCop initiative.
it's
Yeah.
called RoboCop. Okay, I didn't want to misstate it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
He outright said the RoboCop project.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because for those who haven't seen it, there's a scene where they show off the Ed 209 and sort of show off what it can do, and it malfunctions and kills another executive, much to the horror of the other executives. And then immediately another executive leaps on the opportunity to sell his RoboCop project, which goes into fruition when Murphy gets killed in the line of duty and becomes the first RoboCop.
Yeah. Well, it's also great, like that scene in particular, because it's like because it takes place essentially in a boardroom, and kind of because it's another thing that I just want to quick mention about this movie that's really good is the fact that you can, if you even like read a description of like a scene, you could read the description of what all the stuff that happened in this movie, and it still doesn't like downplay actually watching it, because a lot of this is just taking in the spectacle of what the hell is happening. Because what's nice about that scene is that it's taken in the boardroom, so there's a bunch of like executive, like there's a bunch of like corporate people sitting around a table, and basically they're showing off the 209, and someone basically like pull out a gun, which by the way just happened to have a Desert Eagle on hand, which
A
is great.
chromed Desert Eagle.
And it basically points at the thing, and then the thing, like the executive guy puts the gun down, but then the Ed 209 doesn't register it and just shoots the dude like 7 bajillion times. And majority of the people are just horrified. But then you just have the two people are like, oh god damn it, this is gonna make our sales worse.
And their whole point of the Ed 209s wasn't just for urban settings. It was also being marketed towards military use as well, as the one guy mentions later on in the film.
Please, they don't need malfunctioning robots to murder civilians.
Yes.
Yeah, we could just get more of our malfunctioning fighter jets. It's perfect.
God. Yeah,
Trillions wasted. But
yeah,
yeah. So the movie runs on spectacle, despite having a lot of downtime. When it really like leans into a scene, it leans hard into that scene. Like when we get to Murphy's death, that scene in particular was uh, leaned into very heavily, and the movie's actually very gory,
yeah.
a lot gorier than I remembered it being.
Yeah, well, also it doesn't help the fact that the version that we watched was so originally when this movie came out, it was actually when the cut that they originally went sent to the MPAA to get it rated originally got an X rating. So they actually had to cut down a lot of stuff. Majority of it being the scene where Murphy gets quote unquote killed. We actually watched the unrated director's cut, which I think is just basically the cut they sent to the MPAA, which that is another thing that I like. Um, it's kind of funny because I do not like gore. I have said on record that I do not like gore. I There are several scenes of this movie that I kind of have to walk out of the room from because they're just a bit much. That scene being one of them. But I would not want them to take that scene out because it is such a it's so over the top that it's great. Like if it wasn't quite as just completely ridiculous as it was, I don't feel like it would just be weird. But the fact that, much like everything else in this movie, they just go completely over the top with it, it's just almost kind of funny. Um, just
Yeah,
how like needlessly gory it is.
yeah, it borders on outright parody at how just needlessly violent the movie is in every single aspect. You know, like for example, a little more subtle, well, not so subtle, but less gory. But the 50 cal weapons that the bad guys get near the end of the film to take down RoboCop, uh, when they fire them off, creates an explosion. Which no bullet creates an explosion like that. But it's needless and it's exaggerated, and that's a big I want to say motif of the film is the exaggeration of violence.
Well, they even point out that's high-end military tech that's being provided by
Yeah,
the corporation.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Yes. Also, it kind of it goes really into the theme of this movie. That one of the thing that it's a like a critique on, like according to just taking a look at the Wikipedia, like this is just straight up a riff on Ronald Reagan and the kind of the kind of media that like the 80s brought us. Like it is just ludicrously over the top.
Yeah, it's mocking the sort of ultra violence and over the top violence, yeah.
That's what I
Which
have
is
to
why
say.
Yep.
everything it does is over the top. Everything. Okay, and that was it.
That was it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I really enjoy this movie, and the more I see it, the more I enjoy it, because like the more I can sort of appreciate it. But it's a really interesting movie. Yeah, as we went on, it pokes fun at a lot of things, and satirizes some of them, mocks them openly even. Like with going back, like even ignoring like the police brutality stuff. Like there's the news segments, but every time it is sandwiched between these large ads that are longer than the actual important news they're spouting, and the ads themselves are completely ridiculous, over the top, and asinine, and it's in its own way mocking the TV and sort of consumer culture cultivated by Reagan and the Reagan uh in the Reagan era. Just that sort of obsession with consumerism, advertisements. Oh, look at this cool new thing on TV, while ignoring the news. And God, if that doesn't still persist, just albeit in different forms.
Yeah.
Problem is this. Says the problem is this movie is evergreen, and that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Because the police brutality it makes fun of is still very prevalent. Some would argue even more so nowadays. But and just consumerism, obviously. Uh, just I don't know. It's so much. It's a lot. All of it.
Well, I wouldn't
That
say that it's gotten worse. I'd just say that it's become more
like
seen.
more in the limelight now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now we're actually seeing it because we have
Yeah.
everybody has a camera on their self at all
That's what I
times.
mean. Just like more prevalent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It is harder to ignore, which you figure like something like this is like, oh, maybe we should just take a look and maybe, look at it. And then not much has changed. Like especially now with the like ever advancing use of technology in both police and military things, like with if you say, for example, take a look at the modern like approach to like anytime that there is a like you see the cop or like see police in like when they are armed, they are like obviously they are not like decked out in chrome like RoboCop is, but they are like not that far off actually.
Yeah. The militarization of the police is an increasing problem. That once again, that even pokes at too, like with the robot that they use initially, even pointing out that yes, this is meant to be for military use too, because your boy Dick, the one in charge of that project, actually gets really fucking pissed at the dude who made the RoboCop project, for getting in his way because he had military contracts already lined up and everything.
Yep. Also, like in regards to Ed 209, like the use of like unmanned like machines
Weaponry.
to like weaponry in conflict is a thing now. They're
It's a
just
problem.
very tiny, actually.
Also,
Um,
it's this sort of detachment from the violence, but that's a whole
yes.
different beast.
Um, yeah. That's also the thing with RoboCop is that it's like it's a it's not a like there's the concept of a lot of films, and I know this is like an incredibly weaker case of it, but there's like films that you watch, like it's like I'm gonna watch this film exactly once because when I see it, I'm good. Like it's the kind of thing that like a lot of people say about like Schindler's List. It's like it is a movie that you were glad you've seen it, but I don't know if this is something I can watch repeatedly. Because it is a like it's not like a popcorn flick where you can just like, oh, I'm just gonna watch like I said, Die Hard. This is a movie that you just watch and it's like, oh, this is a lot. Like you gotta take a breather after watching this.
I think it's just it's because it's got that messaging to it. It's got that whole the underlying themes. It's not a mindless film. You're thinking about it as it's going on, and it has a bigger impact because of it.
Yeah.
It's the illusion of mindlessness more than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, because yeah, that's exactly it. It creates that sort of illusion of it being a mindless popcorn flick, but at the back of everything, there's all this commentary going on, and it kind of keeps reminding you piece by piece, and it just creates that little bit of impact that kind of makes each scene like the scene where Murphy gets killed that much more powerful.
Yeah.
Uh, it is important to note that the director of this was Paul Verhoeven, who also did things like Total Recall and Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, the apolitical film Starship Troopers that had nothing to do with politics whatsoever.
Yep.
Yeah, the man has a track record of
Uh,
doing these.
Also, I do feel worth pointing out because two other movies he did, Basic Instinct and Showgirls,
Hmm.
which are interesting little side notes between RoboCop, Total Recall, and Starship Troopers, but it's still kind of funny.
Yeah, I was more just pointing out the man has like a history of
And
this
yeah,
sort of like satirizing culture at
incredible.
large.
Yes, the quote unquote incredibly apolitical piece of media.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um,
But
yeah, except one other thing the one thing that I think, and I think it's the thing that kind of got RoboCop. It's like, oh, it's just at first glance, it's just a dumb action movies. The sequels exist, which, um, you know what's great about the fact that this is like a direct riff on Ronald Reagan. It's like policies. You know what's would be a good thing to have your second one be based off of is a very hard anti-drug motif about
Hmm.
people taking a drug called nuke that they just screw into their neck, which is like,
Okay.
yeah, I think you kind of missed the point. It is also a different director, which
Yeah, and also
also,
that one goes in a really weird direction by the end with the corporation that this is the point.
uh-huh,
But that's not this.
yep. And then
Yeah.
also the numerous video games based on RoboCop. The
No,
reason
wow.
why we're doing
Culture at
this.
large really good at missing the message of a movie? Wow, I'm fucking shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great when we end up doing the Platoon video game that actually exists.
Yeah,
It's
I have a
almost
copy of it actually.
It's one, it's not good, but also what the hell?
it's
It's
almost like the monetization of a film with any sort of message will eventually strip it away because of that, and it will just lose any of that in the process.
Yep.
like you can
Nuance is
absolutely
hard when you're trying to sell toys to children for this ultra-violent movie.
yeah.
Oh,
Remember,
we're
there was
gonna say,
also there was a Toxic Avenger cartoon, so there's absolutely no depth that they won't sink to sell to kids.
also another show that, or another movie that got a cartoon, RoboCop. Because
Yeah,
why not?
it's the 80s.
Yeah.
Doing lots of cocaine and vote for Ronald Reagan.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
Cocaine Reagan.
yeah. I mean, it was the age of cocaine, especially if you were a fucking white executive.
Yeah, like you
Um,
see in this movie.
yeah, like you see in this fucking movie, fucking dude doing cocaine with the sex workers. Yep. Um,
No, I'm just.
I mean, I
I.
still love the fucking stock ticker over the urinals. That was a really good touch.
The problem is, I'm pretty sure that's an actual thing.
Yes, that's the problem. You figured it out.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
that
no,
consumerism.
it's interesting too because actually, if you think about it, there is no problem that gets solved in this movie. This is entirely a story of revenge about a man just turned into a robot getting revenge on the people responsible for his death.
Yep.
Because he doesn't solve any problems actually about society at large, and the only reason he is able to shoot the big villain, who is never actually directly his enemy, um, is strictly because the corporation lets him.
Yep. Because one of their own went rogue.
Yeah, he was threatening the head of the company, and that's the only
Yep.
reason that RoboCop did anything.
Yeah.
Yep. And then practically the moment after the dude falls out the window, um, it's like, oh, what's your name? Murphy. End of movie. So you don't see any sort of like conclusion. It's like, oh, wait, then just someone replaces and then things happen.
Yeah, it's not about a man trying to solve crime, it's about trying to get revenge, and that's kind of the funny thing.
Yeah. I mean, he solves some crimes here and there, but they're mostly well. I don't want to say they're petty crimes because there's an attempted rape and
Yeah.
murder, but
Yeah.
like he starts off with a petty crime, goes straight into a potential rape murder, and then from there he's just realizes that he has a revenge plot to tie up.
Well, not just that he solves these crimes, he solves them through excessive force.
Right.
Yes. But
Fucking brutalizes a man, then he shoots up a couple of dudes for the attempted rape, one of which he shoots
well,
in the dick.
well, specifically that one because the guy was grabbing the girl by like the throat, and that was the only like quote unquote clear shot that he had. Yeah, the
Yeah.
other person just straight up runs away.
Yeah, so he doesn't even actually solve that crime or anything. He just shoots the one guy who was a threat. And on top of that, immediately the lady goes to try to talk to him, and his first response is, "I'm going to call a rape crisis center for you," and just completely ignores her.
Yep. And like it's great because that first scene, which is or the dude robbing the gas station, like RoboCop just comes up, like bends his gun and just throws him into like a liquor cabinet and just leaves.
Yeah.
Doesn't
And-
even like arrest him.
And I think it plays on a larger theme of the ineffectiveness of cops and the ineffectiveness of the militarization of police, which was something that was ramping up around that time. Was kind of arming cops with bigger and better weapons and bigger and better toys, and just how that has had absolutely no positive gain on on stopping crime or the populace at large.
Yeah. It is also like the thing of like it's I don't know how I feel about the the what quote unquote one of the villains. The dude Clarence Boddicker, the dude who is played by the dad from that 70s show, which is always funny. But also the fact that it's like, oh, he's in like bed with the corporations just selling cocaine. Just sold in neat little bottles because that's how you distribute cocaine.
Okay, so specifically that one distributor that was selling it in nice, neat little bottles.
All right, yeah.
And also to note that the big bad executive that gets wasted at the end of the movie was working hand in hand with the big bad drug dealer slash criminal whatever
Mhm.
that effectively kills Murphy at the start.
Yep. So yeah, it's a lot of like like I don't want to say convenient like thing, but yeah, it's just like
It's a lot of layers.
it's a lot of layers. That's like
Okay,
um
but it makes more sense when you realize that they were buying arms from the company on the side. So it was obviously this executive making bank off of them.
yep.
Mhm.
And on top of that, once again, the corporation owned the police force.
Yeah.
So the
Yep.
guy even mentioned that he would just be out in like a month
Yep.
because exactly that. Like, the point was that he was in bed because fucking
The
corporations, particularly executives, will do anything to make more money.
yep.
To get that
It made
sweet
sense.
cocaine,
Yep.
Delicious cocaine.
the cocaine Reagan.
Ah, smells so good.
Smells of hate.
See, now I'm just thinking of cocaine. I am just thinking of a very good line in the movie that the fact that it is the dad from that 70s show delivering it makes it even better. Which I won't repeat one because it is not something that I'd like to say, but also it's just funny to hear when it comes out. Because it is one thing that I kind of forgot about.
It's a,
Just
with
because
the hard F's.
it is a movie from the 1980s, and basically some people the villains of this will use like there is also the use of an anti-Italian slur in there, but yes, there is like
Yeah,
stuff
they
like
just
that.
casually slipped that one in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is it's very hard to it's very easy to miss. But yeah, also it's the kind of thing that it's like, oh right, it's the 1980s, you could just get by with that. At least it's not Bill and Ted where it's the hero saying it.
It was still weird to hear it. It was
Yeah.
just it's like going back to some old school rap and hearing it or hearing
Yes.
uh, certain other terms. It's very off putting, but at the same time, like you said, it is kind of funny hearing it come out of that 70s show's dad's mouth.
Yes. It is just like yeah. It's just the thing that's like, oh right, it's a different time period.
I completely forgot that there was the F slur in the movie. I
It's
blanked that
kind of
one
that
out.
it's kind of that thing that it's like, oh right, that just do that because it's like I said, you kind of forget about it in both Bill and Ted's, and also like it shows up a lot more than you kind of remember it. It's actually kind of really unfortunate, but
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yes,
It's a
that is
product of that time period. Is unfortunate.
yes. Also, another thing, it is the villains that are using it. Not that it like reduces any effect of it, but also it is one thing to point out.
It's more apropos.
Yes.
You expect it to come out of their mouths. You don't expect it to come out of Bill and Ted.
Yes. Which why I'm glad that newest movie is actually really good. A lot better than I was expecting it to be, but that is a different subject. But yeah, also I think that point is there any other thing that we kind of want to talk about this? Because I think we've kind of
I do want to say it also made fun of like the normalization of violence in a number of ways, but one of the interesting ones was actually pretty early on with the police when they were just casually commenting on the police officer who died and about the fund you can give to his widow and his family, and then immediately just swap out his name tag on the locker.
yeah. Speaking of another thing that you kind of forget, like it's like, oh right, this hasn't gotten better, is just reminding me of how GoFundMe is now this country's greatest healthcare provider.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just callousness towards human life.
Yeah.
Which is prevalent throughout the entire movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Basically,
feelings.
It's a lot of a means to an end kind of thing. Like, or rather not a means to end, but the end justifies the means. Because RoboCop goes on a single-handed rampage through the city, and regardless of who gets caught up in his wake, it doesn't matter. Even though he does have a prime directive that he's not to harm innocents, I would still argue that innocents do come to harm because of his actions.
Well, also,
yeah.
the whole point is like the way he twisted it to use for revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because they dealt drugs, but like, what defines an innocent?
Yeah, that's another thing that you kind of think of as like, oh, what is the definition of innocent can vary depending upon who the programmer is, which is OCP. So that's probably not
that's
a
where
very
uphold
good
the law
definition.
comes in and gets even muddier.
Yeah.
Because there's no distinction really. The only time that he makes a distinction on an innocent life is when the woman is being held against her will, and he solely judges her innocence based on that. Which I'm not going to argue against that judgment, mind you, but like when he goes in and he shoots up the cocaine factory, for example, he shoots up pretty much everybody, whether they've pointed a gun at him or not.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, I think everyone in that room is carrying a gun. So
Yeah.
that could also be a thing. But it is very much the thing of it's like, I wonder what the programming is on that, because you do see kind of his vision every once in a while, but you don't really see it a whole lot.
Mm.
To be fair, I would also want the world to burn if I saw the world through scan lines.
God.
Yeah. I mean, how do you quantify innocence?
Yes, especially as someone who in past life was a computer scientist. That is a very tricky question. Any sort of recognition like that, especially a ethical one like that.
But I
My
think
point is though, that the directives are incredibly vague, and he even twists them for his own means.
Yep.
the only one that he isn't able to twist is the final directive, which is the hidden directive, which is he can't kill any OCP executive. And the only way around that is for them to basically fire him, and then upon which he can then open fire and kill him with impunity.
Yep. It's fine though, because he can swirl his gun real good.
God.
I just love that. I know they're like pressed for time, but I just love how that one motion is enough for his old partner to recognize that it's him underneath the helmet.
The one thing I would say about that is, considering how incredibly stupid it is to twirl a gun base, or like just in general, but to specifically twirl an auto-loading pistol is violation of at least 3 different common rules of gun safety.
Mm-hmm.
So if I saw someone do that, like, yeah, you're standing and doing that, so you're not dead. So I guess you're my partner. the only other idiot to do that.
Doing sick twirls of like this heavy ass burst fire pistol all over the
God.
place.
I love the burst fire pistol. It's so stupid. It is just a stupid weapon, but it's just so good.
It's also great because that gun, like, technically exists. Like, it is based on an actual gun that was like, you don't see it that often because in real life, that's actually having a machine pistol is almost always a bad idea because physics.
Kick
But
on that thing would be miserable.
yeah, that's why no one really uses it. Though, granted, with all the heft they looked like they added on that gun, you would probably imagine it'd probably, yeah. But that's also a entirely different like conversation.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that I love the fact that whenever you see him in the car, you never see him below the waist because of how that suit actually like mechanically worked. Uh, he's never wearing pants in the car.
Yep. Well, no, okay, so it's complicated because the interior shots they have to move the seat around to actually fit him in. But for the exterior shots, so for the interior shots, you're right. He's not wearing pants ever. That's why they shoot from the waist up. And the one time they show the pedals, it is only his feet they show. But from the outside of the car, whenever you see a shot on the outside, they have gutted the seat.
Because
Yeah.
I would think that he wouldn't be able to fit in a standard sized vehicle with all
Mm.
that extra mass that he has.
Which is why he didn't wear pants for the interior shots. Like for the interior shots.
I know. You're talking about for the movie. I'm just talking like if it were like a real thing, they would have
would
to
be
have
the
a special
vehicle.
car for him.
Also, because I looked it up because I never actually realized it. RoboCop, like the actual, like once he's RoboCop, he's only 6 foot.
Damn, he can fit into a car just fine then. Fuck that.
Like, or at least if this one page I'm looking at is accurate. Like it's only 6'4". Now I don't know if maybe Peter Weller is 6'4" and that's where they got it. But yeah, it's according to this thing, it is height of wait 6 foot and 300 pounds, which I guess would be the suit then.
Also,
Also-
I kind of just real quick wonder like how much of him was left, like how much of him was still human tissue and organs, and how much of it was RoboCop.
So if I remember correctly, it is basically, I believe, just the torso and the head, like even part of the head, because the arms and legs are definitely not his, and I let's see, okay, well let's see. Oh, that's the wrong RoboCop. That is the 2004 RoboCop, which is the
Which is
one
also a good movie.
I've never seen it, so I cannot judge.
I think it's a halfway decent remake. It doesn't have any of the messaging or any of the underlying themes that the original had, but it's still a decent action film.
Oh, good. There's an Angel Fire site about RoboCops. I'm sure that.
Sweet.
Oh, it's actually working still. Yeah. How much is? Yeah. Well, let's see. Okay, how much? Wait. Also, that is. Did they put 1.9 centimeters? Because I'm pretty sure that's wrong. And I lost a tab. Yeah, 1 point. Okay, so they screwed that up. So I'm not going to bother with that one. Anyway, also the other thing that I found funny was how easy it was for, at the end scene for Boddicker to just put a like normal like piece of rebar through RoboCop that it just looks really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I saw something about RoboCop from the Good Smile Company. I thought there was a RoboCop Nendo.
God,
not. It's
that
just,
sounds terrible.
it's just an action. It's an action figure. So
Soon enough. Soon enough. You'll have a Nendo. You'll have a Funko Pop.
I can almost guarantee you there's a RoboCop Funko Pop.
Get up right now. Look at dude.
Let's see, RoboCop Funko Pop. Yep. I'm not. Let's see, from Funko.com. The Robo. Okay, that's not what I wanted. Website. Let's see, Funko RoboCop. It is no longer on sale. But this is a hideous looking. Like, I know it's a Funko Pop, but man, this is a bad looking Funko Pop. You know, at
That is
least
atrocious. You should
that
take
is
thumbnail.
that is really bad. No, we know what the thumbnail has to be.
Okay, at least link it in the description then.
I'll see if this Target website's even still up.
Yeah, we can't have any thumbnail other than, you know.
Oh no,
the-
I meant just like take that image and put it like an imager and then post it.
Yeah.
Either way, good movie, fun movie, a lot of really enjoyable, fun
Yeah.
action, violence.
I think the event horizon of us looking at the Funko page has determined that it is ready for ranking.
Yeah, I just want to say I enjoy this movie. I think it's pretty well paced. It's really it's a fun movie, but it's also one of those movies that like the more you look at it, the more you realize, oh, this is actually very bleak.
Mm.
Yeah.
You didn't say what you thought about it, Lolo.
I really like this movie. Like, it is a movie that I like. The problem is that it is a movie that I can watch maybe like once every like 5 years, because it's like, yeah, this is a movie that's like, oh man, this is the coolest looking depressing movie I've seen.
Yeah, it doesn't paint a positive picture of things.
It is evergreen in the worst way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there are a couple scenes that I just nope, I'm gonna walk out of the room for a moment.
And I know which scenes they were.
Yeah, that dude blew up real good. Got ran over and turned into stuff. All right. So with that, we're gonna rank this using our normal 1 to 21 scale, with 1 being absolute mastercraft and 21 being not even worthwhile garbage to, like, it's not even fun to watch. So X, what were you thinking?
You know, maybe I'm gonna get some hate for this, but I think this is like Die Hard, but with messaging. I would put this at 1.
All right, Torpo.
For the first time, I don't have like a definitive number in my head, and it feels weird. Feels fucking weird.
Welcome to the club.
No!
Pick
Where
a
did
range, you fool.
indecision come from? Let me look at what we have on the top. Ooh, Aliens and Commando at 2. I think 2 is actually probably a good spot, but I'd be okay with 1 as well. But I think 2 is more spot for me.
Okay, so I think we have a first here. I actually was gonna put 3.
3
Wow.
would be fine by me too. Like 1 through 3, I am fine with. I think 2 is a solid spot though.
I think 3 is the absolute floor. Like, I also think that this movie's fantastic, but I just wanted to, like, I kind of push back a little bit because this movie can be a little rough to watch at some spots, but I can definitely also see that might also be a personal taste thing, and I would actually be fine with any of the Mastercraft rankings. I think this movie's really good, so either one of those 3 works.
1 through 3 works fine by me.
So I guess it's time to.
Shit, where do we put it then?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing to think, because I'm gonna just go ahead and say I'm fine with it being 2. So let's just start at 2 and then see. So at 2 we got Aliens, Commando with an asterisk, Pat Labor, the Slayers, and Vampire Hunter Deep Bloodlust.
Yeah, see, I saw like Aliens and Commando at 2, and I'm like, you know what? This is a good spot for that.
Now, the thing with that is that, the thing with this is, I would definitely say, like, over like Pat Labor, Slayers, and Vampire Hunter Deep, no question, I would put it over. Aliens and Commando, I'm thinking about. Also, just to the other comparison of what we got in one, which is Die Hard, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Red Line, and Addams Family. I definitely would say, like, if granted we don't do it like this anymore, and it's also not how this list is meant to do, but I would definitely say that Die Hard and Raiders and Red Line are more like better movies. Adam's Family, I know that's a little bit of the weird one, but it's really in that kind of borderline category that it's like I could definitely see it being either. The problem is I'm pretty sure I accidentally overwrote the questions that I had for Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was actually the determining of what we do for one. So I can try and remember it, but I can see, like, I remember the gist of it, and I think that this might actually also, why do I have my
Or you are crushing my nuts right now.
also apparently in Notepad I just have open the text file that has the high scores for Zero Ranger.
Why?
I just have a bunch some tabs and all that, and because it's like text values, it doesn't matter how many you have. I'm like, oh wow, why do I have like that open? Let's see, I'm just kind of going through. Maybe I got lucky and I saved it, but I think I probably didn't. That's, I have the questions for we asked for Cobra Part 2, but that's not going to help us.
Lolo, you are fucking killing me.
A bunch of ISOs for the Q files for Clockwork Knight. That is the description. That is for one of the Hazeltown episodes. That's the Q file for Kadelka. I don't even know what that is. Oh, I think actually I do. That is something completely different. Okay, I do not have the questions, but I can kind of I generally
believe it.
remember what this is. Okay. So I'm going to try and recall what the questions are. If I remember correctly, I believe that one of the questions was, would you put this in? Okay. So if I remember this, does this um, belong in the top 1% of all movies? Or actually, no, it was 2% of the genre that it's in, which I guess would be action.
Yeah, it's action.
I would say yes.
And I would also say yes. Is it the top 5% of all movies in general?
That's tough. Because I mean, for the top, I have my like I've said before, my top 3 movies are John Carpenter's The Thing, Spirited Away, and The Princess Bride. So,
Well, top 5% of movies, not just top 5.
I know, but still, that's
Yeah.
top 5%. Man, that's a question that I don't know if I can really answer. At the very top 5% of all movies of all time.
Yeah, it's really good, but it's like, that's a really fucking rough question. What are the other questions?
Yeah, what are the other ones? Let's try
I think I remember one having universal appeal. Was also one, something around that.
Okay, so I would say no, this doesn't have universal appeal. Like, very clearly, just based on your what you said about it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have that.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. It's like there's just some things about this movie that I just feel are really rough. That it's though. Then again, if we do universal appeal, then we're just kind of there's like really good niche films that just because someone doesn't like it, like it's just not part of their genre, that would prevent it from ever getting one.
Right.
But still, I do feel, even in a general sense, that there are just some roughness of that movie that I could definitely. It's very good for what it is, but there is still some just rough bits of it.
I mean, that'd be like asking me if a shmup should be ranked 1.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I was thinking about.
Yeah, I think universal appeal should be a more wide-ranging appeal, I think would probably be.
Yeah. Like outside of just like, oh, I don't like this genre, so of course you're not going to like the movie. But even then, like, providing you don't have that, is this really accessible? Which even then, I would still say there are some things that I can see people being turned off by it. Like particularly the jitteriness of like the 209. I feel like that is something that
That looks jank, but also like the over the top violence, I would argue.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
over the top violence is probably its biggest. It's strongest and weakest point.
The nuance, like I feel like some of the nuance will be lost on folks.
And it has
Is the
been.
issue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
Consistently.
yes.
Wow, cool robot.
Wow, cool robot.
Yeah. I almost feel like the existence of the sequels almost puts us in two, but granted that's not generally a thing
No, that's
we do.
way
That's
too
not
mean
fair.
to this
That is
movie.
not fair.
That's
That is
not
not
fair at
fair.
all.
That is just my
That is
personal take, but-
damning by association, my friend, and we do not do that on this program.
But then again, also that is kind of basically the inverse of what we were doing is that we can't put the Addams Family at 1 because Addams Family values exist.
Which
So
is something that I vehemently disagreed about, but that's a different discussion altogether.
yeah. So that is not a valid.
It's also because then you fall into the too many cooks argument as well.
Yeah.
On top of that, it is a beautiful example of this movie being misunderstood, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Because otherwise, then you'd have to put Aliens lower because Aliens 3 exists, and also Alien Resurrection.
That is true.
Yeah, guilt by association doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not a valid qualifier. God,
I
like,
kind of
1 or 2, like, I don't know. I'm stymied on this one.
I kind of feel like this. So, if I remember correctly, the reasons that I had the asterisks on there was when I was waiting for a concrete example of how to delineate what a 1 is, which I had, and then I forgot. So,
God damn it, Lovo.
I actually was kind of worried. I'm like, should I go re-listen to the Indiana Jones one to determine what the thing was? And I'm like, nah, it's not going to get a 1. And I'm like, oh, here we are.
Like, how do you not have a guide for these sorts of things for the fucking Media Delta?
You have so much shit written down low, and this is what you're missing.
And then sometimes you accidentally hit X when you're not, and you forget to save it, and then it just poof out the window.
Well, then just fucking re-listen to the re-ranking at some point.
Yeah, I got to do that. Also, I have like the listing of like on one of these tabs. I have the pool that I was going to take from for like stuff to do for a month. Like, oh, here's like the things I was going to throw into the random list generator. That's in there.
What the fuck?
Previous Media Delta lists that I was going to look
Lolo,
at.
you are fucking killing me.
The intro that I had for when I was doing intros for these things for Mappy.
Oh, I'm going to hunt you down and slam you in the garbage.
I have a bunch of bullshit. Listen. Yeah, I kind of feel with the discussion that we're having.
Beat your ass.
I kind of, since we're having the reservations, I kind of feel we should just play it safe and just do a 2.
2 is fine. 2 is still a good spot for
2
it,
is
honestly.
right. 2 will be right next to Aliens and Commando, which are fantastic movies.
Can we put an asterisk next to it?
Yes, we can. We can absolutely put an asterisk.
Put one next to it because Lolo is a dipshit, everyone.
I will eat my words, or I don't know if that's the right phrase, but I will
eat my words.
I will eat crow, and I will put the asterisk because I screwed up.
Because if I were to just quickly make my argument for 1, I feel that this is like I said, I put this on the same level as Die Hard. I feel like the movie has a lot of layers to it, and the more you watch it, the more you come away with like new like underscored messages and philosophies, and you realize different things about the movie. And I think that puts it at least on the level of Die Hard, which is a layered movie, but doesn't have the same kind of like subtlety and messaging to it. It was more about the technical craft of the movie, is why we put it at 1. And I think RoboCop should stand up there because of the way that it interweaves different ideas in such a way that you can can keep watching it and find something new. And that's where I stand.
Yes. I have put an asterisk and also a descriptor of why it's at 2. Because rather than having to try and remember something that I did, I was about to say eons ago, that was literally like 2 months ago.
It was 2 months and you forgot to fucking write it down.
Yes. Anyway, it's episode 69.
Nice.
This came out in 1987. Paul Verhoeven. This was definitely a theatrical release. This is not a kids movie.
It
Action.
sure isn't a kids movie, but won't stop it from making fucking toys.
Toys. Remember
Cartoon.
the Highlander cartoon.
God, I love the 80s and its love of like trying to make like to market these super violent films to children via toys.
Also, I feel like I have to put the tone of 80s.
It's the 80s.
It's the 80s.
Yeah, it is an incredibly 80s-esque movie.
Gore plus and yikes.
Yep. Yep, I was thinking yikes and gore plus. Yeah. Also, the one other thing that I kind of forget about this movie is that there is a little bit of nudity at the front end of the movie that just kind of like casually glossed over, which is also kind of humorous.
I totally missed that.
Yeah, like there was definitely
the locker room.
That
yeah, like it just kind of like, oh right, that's there for like a half a second.
To be fair, I barely even like would write that one down.
Yeah,
I feel like it's not.
I wouldn't, because really the other thing is really the more damning thing of it.
Yeah, well, I more mean it in the case of like they don't draw attention to it in the way that's like super sexualized or anything. It's just a lady changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also see butt cheeks from the dudes in the background.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's just people in a fucking locker room behaving like they're in a locker room.
Yeah, it's the thing that it's like, oh right, because I'm looking at the ring and I'm like, oh right, that is technically there. Anyway, let's see. What do we want to put down for music, charm, cinematography, storytelling, action, and art?
I wouldn't put anything down for the music because I don't feel like the soundtrack was really all that good.
No, it's just kind of there.
There was a theme, but it was just one of those like 80s themes. It's like, oh right, I can kind of recognize this as a theme of RoboCop, but yeah.
Charm, I'd say there's a charm to it.
Yeah, there is definitely a charm to it.
There's a sleaze charm to it.
Yeah.
Cinematography.
Cinematography?
It was well shot. I mean,
it is, but I don't know if it was like, oh, if there wasn't a case where it's like, oh wow, that's a good shot.
Yeah, no, it's standard action film shooting, I'd say.
Yeah, and the story is pretty
So the story is pretty average, but like the point to me at least is the layers, but
yeah, I feel like I should put something down for the messaging across that kind of stuff. Like I don't know if I should just put a thumbs up for it.
Just put an onion.
Yeah, there was one onion. There. Action.
Why do you listen to me?
Action. I think
the action's fine.
It's fine, but I don't know if it's like a really good, because the action scenes aren't really that good per se. Like it's not like, oh, this is an interesting fight. It's more just like, here's RoboCop shooting a bunch of dudes
as he gets shot up.
Yeah, and just it's nothing really to write home about, but it's still like that's not what this movie's about.
Yeah, I think this is further cementing why I feel it should be at a 2.
I mean, yeah. Art. I
would give it a thumbs up just for the RoboCop alone.
Yeah, I was thinking either that, or I was potentially thinking a shrug, because like the stop motion it is very goofy.
Stop motion was kind of jank, but I actually do feel some of the set design was pretty on point.
And to put a fine point on it, yes, the Ed 209s look like crap, but they weren't heavily featured in the film. They appear in like 2 different scenes, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And also, it was, obviously stop motion, because there's only so much they could do, but also I feel like it lent to the idea that the Ed 201 was a piece of crap.
Right.
Yeah.
And then RoboCop on his own, and then of course big props to the squib work that they did for the practical effects and all they did for the actual like people being shot and limbs being torn off and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Like
Murphy got dismembered real good.
yeah, they did a real good job with the makeup and effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
still say also that like some of the set design is pretty solid too. Like
Yeah.
the VIP lounge, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything for yay or nay?
I look at the fucking Media Delta charms that are
I-
on the opposite end.
I can't really think of anything in particular I want to call it. So I wouldn't call it like boy. I wonder if boy it's the XDs maybe.
I mean, yes, but like
Yes, but also it's not like
it's not a
it's like,
negative way of it. It is a commentary on its era as opposed to just being a byproduct of it.
it's not the thing where it just kind of like it's kind of it's
Like, oh,
not
this
like
is
say
unfortunate.
it's not like say Trading Spaces where that is very much a movie where that's like oh right this is a 80s movie that in itself is a critique of its own time, which I feel like
It gets
yeah.
a slide for that one.
And yeah, that's the only because like the only thing I could think of that is like, oh right, they did that is again, as we mentioned, the casual use of some language. But
Yeah.
outside of that, that's not really that much. I can't really think of any other charms though. At least negative. Because that if anything, it has the fact that it hasn't aged poorly is a problem.
Yeah, that's not its fault.
And it's not bad cheesiness. It's not campy. I don't know if I'd put
Yeah,
it made
it's
of.
fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good on RoboCop. At number 2 here, because Lola forgot the number 1 questions.
Can't fucking believe
Colon
it.
V. Yeah. Oh well.
You're gonna
Well,
have to re-listen to the Raiders of the Lost Ark episode.
I mean, in a year when we do the great rank screw up again, whatever the next Tron is going to be, and we have the next we just discuss rankings. We can definitely come across that because then we gotta fully settle for once and for all Adam's Family and Commando too.
The great debate.
Yeah, the great debate part 2. Yes. Anyway, that is going to do it for RoboCop. So, X, anything you want to plug?
Yes, the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network is a fantastic organization run by people with autism for people with autism. If you want to find more resources on autism and how you can help lead a more stable and independent life, just head on over to the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network.
All right, Torpo.
Twitch.tv/torpotypist and @torpotypist on Twitter. And I would like to plug the gaping wounds in my body left by these guys.
Yes.
It
All
was
right.
my move, and I was the creep.
Yep. Also, yes. So next week we have something that's almost on the complete opposite end of the tone spectrum. We're talking about Moomin next week, which is
What do you mean almost?
I think that is about as hard of a tonal shift as we've ever had in Media Delta. Going from hard ass like, oh shit, the world's on fire, both in the thing and also in the real life, to oh hey, it's these nice little finished little creature dudes. So yes, specifically, we are talking about Return to a Movement Valley, which was a '90s era, I think technically '80s era anime, actually technically based off of Finnish property and
Finnish
weird
comic.
thing, Finnish comic, Moomin, which I'm not super familiar with, but
They're cute.
they are very cute.
Any of my familiarity with it comes through a friend.
Yes.
I just like the name Moomin.
I just know that video where they gotta save the police station in Moomin Valley, so they gotta do more crime. Anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. So, thank you all for listening.
Bye.
Me.
If you would like to look at the full list of rankings for yourself, please visit r3.ldp.life and go to the Media Delta List tab. If you would like to watch Media Delta's sister show, Retro Rank Rhapsody, you can either watch at youtube.ldp.life or by tuning into twitch.tv/loadedpuzzlo at 7:30 p.m. on Fridays, 2:30 p.m. on Saturdays, and 1 p.m. on Sundays. All those times are from the Eastern US time zone. If you would like to discuss this episode with the community, you can do so by joining our Discord server, which you can do so by going to discord.ldp.life. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you tune in for our next episode.